Good morning, boss.
Good morning.
All right. Good morning, guys. Okay, so you were telling me saying that you have actually looked into like the back end of Bluesky with it being open source, and like you find the information or the technology behind Bluesky actually like really interesting, right?
Yeah, I've been following Bluesky's development for like a year now or something. I've contributed a little bit myself. It's only like a few lines of code, and
Wait,
but
so
I've been
you actually have like in the source code for Bluesky that they're using right now, there are actually lines of code that you made.
well, like a couple, yeah. It's very very small changes, but it's like that's one of the cool things about Bluesky because it's all open source, especially like front end stuff, where like if something annoys you, you can just change it. You can just open a pull request and have someone look at it, and that's how I changed a couple like small. I fixed a couple small bugs in the front end
Wait, that's so sick.
through that process, which
So
is really sick. Yeah.
is that also done on like on GitHub?
Yes, that's on GitHub. Everything's on GitHub.
They just
You
have
can.
like a Bluesky GitHub repository, and then
Yeah.
any
Let me link
developers
it.
can like look through and send a pull request to have like new shit added.
Yeah. Let me link it.
That's
Here.
crazy.
This is the repository for all the front end stuff, so the mobile app and the website. They have a bunch more repositories if you want to look at them.
The Blue Sky Social app. Welcome, friends. This is the code base for the Blue Sky Social app.
Yeah, you can literally just clone this, run it, and have like the Blue Sky web app just running locally on your machine and participate in the wider Blue Sky network with that app running on your machine.
Wait, what the
That's
fuck?
one of the cool things about Blue Sky. Like it's very that's what they mean when they say like Blue Sky is decentralized. Like you can run your own Blue Sky essentially, but still participate in the larger network.
What the fuck? How? Okay, so like when I think of like cloning an application and stuff, like
Yeah.
that makes sense to me if it's like an offline thing, right? So like
Right.
I've used like Twitch downloaders, right? It's just
Right.
something that taps into Twitch's API and it downloads it, right? But for something
Yes.
like Blue Sky, like I'm imagining there has to be like a host. And then
There
what you're
is,
doing
yeah.
is that you're just tapping into it, right? I'm assuming this isn't generating a brand new host that people are connecting to you to like go to the application. Like what is the
No.
like the offline version of this open source thing?
Okay, so this is going more into the tech stuff that I might want to like prepare for later, but it's
Oh
okay.
shit.
We
I
can
mean,
we can
if you
tuck
want
into
to
this a
talk
little
about it
bit
later,
now.
we,
No,
we
that's
can
okay.
we can save it for later conversation. But sure.
No, that's fine. Let me think real quick. So, well, the way Blue Sky works essentially is that you have a lot of personal data servers essentially. All those data servers feed into what's called a relay, and every front end then can grab data from that relay. That is like the central point of, in this case, Blue Sky, or like the wider ad proto network. It's a little bit complicated to explain, but it's kind of like this relay is kind of like the entry point into the larger network. But it's nothing more than just a cache that essentially grabs data from everywhere and centralizes it. Yeah. Um, Man, yeah, I
So
really need to prepare for this.
so when you're
More
cloning
for
this
later.
repository, are you also cloning that
The data, no, you're just this is just your view essentially. That's what it's called like internally. It's essentially just a view layer into the data on the Blue Sky or the at Proto network.
interesting.
But
Okay,
yeah, I'll
we
talk
can
more
dive
about that later.
yeah, we can dive deeper into that sort of
That is
conversation later.
decentralization. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what that Chemical in chat just said. Yeah, that is decentralization essentially. But there's a lot of asterisks with that. Like when you ask like, is Blue Sky decentralized? You can say yes, but, and then like 10 paragraphs of like explanations on on why some might consider it decentralized and some might not consider it decentralized compared to something like Mastodon with the Fediverse and everything. But that's a conversation for another day.
quick asterisk. So when I hear decentralization, I immediately associate that term with like cryptocurrencies and like
Yeah,
the
that's completely
blockchain.
separate.
So that
No, that's
for clarification, this sort of decentralization of like user data is completely different from like the use of like cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology and shit like that, right?
completely separate.
Wow.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It couldn't be. Well, nah, it is completely separate. Yeah, it is not. It has nothing to do with crypto. I mean, it uses
That checks a
similar
lot of boxes.
technologies, but no crypto. No. Although there were some controversies when it came to like who is investing into Blue Sky because they did like a large seed round, whatever, and their largest backer is actually like some crypto fund, which is kind of like a little bit controversial, but at the same time they need the money and they're completely separate from development. They have no say in like the development of Blue Sky or the Ad Proto network or anything.
Do you know what
So,
their like
yeah.
sort of strategy is in terms of like because here's where I'm coming at it. Like if this is an open source project, how the fuck do they make money? You know what I'm saying? It sounds like they have investors, but don't investors want a return on their investment, typically speaking?
That's a very good question. And I think there is actually a blog post on that.
Blog
by
post. Oh shit.
By
Okay.
Blue Sky. Let me see if I can find it. I have one here, but I think there was a more recent one. No, I guess this is it. Maybe I'm thinking of something else here. If you look at this, they have like their business plan. They're very transparent about all of this, about their plans, their plans for the network and the platform. But the idea is essentially that, well, I don't exactly remember all the monetization IDs and everything, but the idea is that Blue Sky should be replaceable in a sense. Like, this is not Blue Sky or like the Ad Proto network does not end with Blue Sky. They want to create this whole ecosystem where you essentially have freedom of choice on like which platforms you use, but the data should be transferable between those platforms and everything. Okay, this is going into like the tech and everything again, but it's a little difficult to separate the two.
Yeah.
But wasn't there more? Damn. Right now, oh yeah, right now like the only way they make money is through partnering with Namecheap for the usernames. You know, every username is a domain name.
Right.
So if you want a custom username, you can get the username through Blue Sky, which will then register it at Namecheap. But like Blue Sky gets like a little commission from that. That's currently the only way they make money. But there are a lot of plans in the pipeline. Maybe I can find some tweets from the Blue Sky team on that, on what kinds of IDs they have.
I see.
But I have seen them like pass by.
Yeah,
just
so
like
I'm
redeem subscriptions, kind of like Discord Nitro like basically.
right. Yeah. Some sort of like a recurring thing that would support this business because like I see myself in the perspective of both like a consumer who, you know, purchases things and like does stuff and like I'm very cheap. You know what I'm saying? Like if I ever spend money on anything, I need to see inherent value and like I like question every fucking expense. You know what I'm saying? And I imagine every single person is kind of like me. Some people may go a little bit like less brain and be like, oh, this person recommended this product, so I'm just going to use that, etc., right? Which is cool. But like I look at things when I look at like a service, I always think about like how much does it cost? What value does it bring? And how can I be sure that it's going to stick around? You know what I'm saying? But I'm also
those
like
are very good questions. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also on the entrepreneurial side where I'm like, okay, if I'm offering this service and I'm hiring employees and I'm, you know, bringing on investors, like there has to be a way that the value proposition that I offer to customers needs to be a large enough value proposition in order for me to bring in that sort of income for me to, you know, pay my employees, get a return from my investors and pay my own salary. Right. So, the thing that I like makes me so fascinated about is that like from a consumer standpoint, I feel open source software is the future. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's not the future. it's already
It's
like
the reality.
it's the reality. It's the current status quo. It's like everything you use will have open source or will use open source software. There's
Yes.
nothing, or like very rarely will anything be purely made of like closed source software or like having everything built internally. Like most of the web in general runs Linux, which is completely open source.
Right.
Like everything runs on open source essentially.
Okay,
So,
let me rephrase that then.
yeah.
I feel like the best case scenario, the best case offering that you can give a consumer is a product that is open source. Would that
What do
be
you mean
better?
by that?
As in, like, the user knows exactly what they're getting because they can,
Well, like
if they want to, they
transparent,
can.
yeah.
Yeah, the transparency is there. It is modifiable. They're not like locked into something where they have to go through like a manufacturer or like a developer in order to do stuff. They can source their own people that they trust in order to fit it to their own needs. So like the way that I see it is like
Yeah.
buying like a physical product, right? If I buy a monitor stand, I own that fucking monitor stand. If it doesn't fit my monitor, if I really want to, I could hack a solution together with tape or like bits and drills and screws and shit to make that shit work for my needs. You know what I'm saying? Like I can mold it, right?
Yeah.
And like open source software, I see has that potential where if you wanted to, you can hack something together, make
Yeah, it is
something worth. You have something that you can
software
work with.
equivalent of
Yeah,
that.
the software equivalent of that. So I see open source software as something that is extremely consumer forward,
Consumer friendly.
friendly. Yes. Okay. However, how the fuck does the business make money if it gives that level of control to the consumer? And so, like,
There are ways. I mean, okay, you have one way, which is to have very restrictive licensing. So there's also a lot of like semi-open source where you have like source available projects where you give the code, but then with the, how do you say it, with like the restriction that you cannot run a competitor using that code, for example. That is more restrictive licensing. I don't think Bluesky does that. Bluesky is, I believe, completely MIT licensed.
holy shit.
Which means that you, this is the other direction, you as a platform just have to provide the better product, with better customer service, with better, I don't know, in this case, better moderation, for example. Just have customers choose you over any competitor.
But the asterisk is that the license, you have to pay for the license to use that underlying source
No.
code.
No. Not in this case. In this case, it's completely free. You could run your own Bluesky, and if you do a better job at running your Bluesky competitor, people will go to you instead of Bluesky.
What the fuck? So they don't even charge.
The freedom you have.
They don't even charge.
They don't charge for anything. No.
What the fuck? Okay, but like that would be something that other open source software may opt to do differently, which is, yes, it's open source, but if you want to run a competitor, you need a license, and that's how they make some money.
Yeah, that is like, I
Okay.
believe like a business license, or like BSL. What is it called? Business source license. Yeah, that's like it publishes source code, but then the right to use could be like sold. Yeah, but that's considered very restrictive in open source. A lot of people don't even consider that open source because of how restrictive it is.
Interesting. Damn. Okay.
But in the case of Bluesky, that's not the case. Like if you wanted to, you could clone the entire Bluesky network and all of the running code. If you can get it up and running, it's very complicated, of course, but someone could do it with enough effort. You could run your own Bluesky competitor.
Yeah, that's
on the
fucking
same
crazy.
network. It's there's a lot of freedom, yeah, in that sense.
So with all of this being said, like my underlying thing that I'm always like questioning in the background, this all seems amazing. Like this seems like an end game social media platform that if Bluesky as a service ends up not being my taste, maybe someone else using this technology could create something better, and then I'll just move all my shit over to there. I don't lose my followers and stuff, right? Like that was the pitch that the COO made to me, and I'm
Right.
like, that idea just seems phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
But then the question is like, I wanna like do more stuff with Blue Sky. I like building relationships with brands. I like the idea of like having that one-to-one connection. And so I want them to last. So it's like, it just seems like from a business standpoint, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. I did talk to them about like, you know, their future plans and their monetization like ideas. And I mean, they gave me some sort of ideas, which I don't think I'm I'm allowed to share. But they did tell me that they're mainly focused on creating the best product right now. But
Exactly. Yeah.
the reason why I'm asking all these questions is because, like, I obviously want to do my own plans. I obviously want to create the best product for the consumer as a consumer. But I also understand from the business standpoint that I want it. I need it to make money and pay for itself at the very least. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to bring in investors and have them like front the bill and shit. But anyways, very, very epic learning opportunity. But
Right.
with that being said, I have a Blue Sky account. I've learned a little bit about like custom feeds. Like with you being on Blue Sky and even contributing to their platform, what does your Blue Sky account look like if you don't mind sharing with the stream?
I mean, I don't post anything. I'm just
damn.
a lurker. It's just my. Oh, by the way, you can link your Blue Sky account to your Discord.
Oh,
So if you go to my Discord profile, it's also on there.
oh shit. Oh shit, wait. They have that integration?
Yeah.
Is that something that you can literally just like
Do. Yeah.
like
Or
did,
what
did
do you
someone go into the Blue Sky source code and be like, you know what, I want Discord integration, and then did they just make a pull request for it? Is that how it
no,
works?
This is on Discord side.
Oh,
Discord integrated. Like, but all it is essentially just verifying that you own this Blue Sky account. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But
I
it
see.
didn't have anything to do with Blue Sky. No, this is on Discord side.
Yeah,
But no, I don't post anything myself. I don't feel like I have much to talk about. But I do use Blue Sky a lot, just to like, as a consumer.
I think you have a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. You may not think
I mean,
it's
maybe,
interesting.
yeah, I may not think it's interesting. Maybe it's just being able to have it like spread it into bite-sized pieces that is the difficult part.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I'll do more with like social media and stuff in the future. My Twitter is also empty. It's like I don't do anything with when it comes to social media other than just consume.
I mean, this is like a little tangent, but I applaud you for that. I think if I didn't have the role that I have right now, I would cut all social media out of my life. Maybe be a lurker,
Right,
but I would
yeah.
never post anything on the internet. Fuck that, dude.
Yeah,
What stays
exactly.
what's posted on the internet stays on the internet, and there's just like so much weight behind that like it's hard to turn off for me personally.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally feel that.
But anyways, okay. So like as a user, as like a lurker of Blue Sky, as someone who actually uses the platform, because I use Twitter a lot. I don't like using Twitter. Like after using Twitter in the past like couple months, I've been very dissatisfied. Like I use it, but it feels like it's out of like addiction rather than like, oh, what's interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel hooked on the platform, and I'm looking to basically like hopefully shift over. But I find there's like this sort of like chicken and egg situation where it's like I want to move over to Blue Sky, but like the appeal of Twitter is that everything happens on Twitter, and like
Yeah.
you know when
the
something does
network effect.
like there the network effect. Which of course, how could the network effect happen if I'm not on Blue Sky and doing stuff on Blue Sky? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like. Anyways, I'd like to see what is the current experience as a user who's been on Blue Sky and looking and like reading stuff. Like, what does your feed look like? How do you interact with stuff? The way the COO was pitching it to me is that they're structuring it to be something kind of like a Twitter X Reddit mesh
Yeah.
together. So they're trying to incentivize these conversations and like have these custom feeds almost like subreddits in a way. Like I like, would you mind showing us how that has worked for you and how that looks like on your end?
Yeah. I definitely see the similarity when it comes like the intersection with Twitter and Reddit, like where they're going with that. I can definitely see that. On Reddit, anyone can create a subreddit, for example, which is kind of like its own closed community. On Blue Sky, anyone can create a feed. You may have heard people say like Blue Sky does not have an algorithm. That is not necessarily true. Blue Sky has many algorithms, but all those you can create your own algorithm essentially. That is the idea. Or anyone has the freedom to create their own algorithm and share that algorithm with other people. You don't just have one algorithmic timeline, is the idea. You have many different timelines created by many different people that you can subscribe to, essentially. And all those different timelines or feeds can be their own little communities in a sense, which is kind of like the Reddit counterpart, I guess. And the custom feeds have a lot of like information about. They can be personalized as well.
Right.
Like if you scroll through the different feeds that you have available, you can see like they can grab from people you're following or from your likes.
Wait, when did I follow Risei Aika? What the hell? Oh wait, no, they're just on Osu Sky. What the hell? Aika's on Blue
Exactly.
Sky? No way.
Uh, so for example, the Osu Sky one,
Mm-hmm.
it essentially crawls all of the people with an Osu link in their bio and includes them in the feed. It's a very like programmatic way of doing feeds, a very dynamic way of creating these feeds.
Interesting. So people are literally creating like in their algorithm. Their algorithm
Yeah,
is if you have an Osu user page link in your bio, you will show up in this feed, and that's it.
exactly. Yeah,
And I'm sure like if they wanted to, they could customize like who gets like priority to the top of the list, or if it's just
they could. Yeah,
chronological and stuff like that. And so you're
yeah,
basically literally creating an algorithm.
exactly.
Holy fuck.
And you can make it as complicated as you want. For example, like the Discover feed, which is built into Bluesky. You could create your own Discover feed if you manage that. It's very complicated. There's a lot of like different factors involved and the different inputs. You would essentially have to be able to process the entire Bluesky network, which and like give weights to different topics and everything, which is very complicated and would involve machine learning and everything. But you could do it, and you could share that with other people. So if you create a better Discover feed, people could just switch over to that.
What the fuck?
That is the idea. Yeah.
Okay, so for me as a person who likes understanding the products that I work with and tinkering with the stuff that I work with, that sounds phenomenal. But I also understand that there are people who just want something that works, and
Yeah.
they instead like forfeit that sort of I guess due diligence to people who they trust know better. That's the point. That's kind of the reason why I exist. I'm an influencer. You know what I'm saying? When I say a product recommendation about something about Osu, there's a lot of people who trust my opinion and they just use it. I'm sure there's a lot of people who use social media platforms and just want that thing. I feel like that's part of the reason why the For You page has kind of like taken off. Of course, spearheaded by TikTok, which taps into a lot of data, but it works, right? It shows them the content that they enjoy watching. And in some cases, people feel like the algorithm knows them more than they know themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in that sort of sense, how can Blue Sky create an experience for that person who just wants something that works and doesn't want to go through this process of learning the network? Like, I'm assuming Blue Sky doesn't really have access to a lot of that user data and is going to be a lot will be less competitive in terms of developing an algorithm that could best service the person who just wants an
I
experience that
don't
works.
think I don't think they would have to be less competitive. I think they could do the exact same thing with enough time. Like you have to realize Twitter, for example, they had they've had like 10, 15 years to perfect this algorithmic timeline. Blue Sky has only existed for like a couple of years, not even. So they're kind of trying to do the same thing right now with the Discover feed. It's not there yet. It's not as personalized as the Twitter algorithmic timeline for a lot of different reasons. But they are working towards that as well to give you also the built-in algorithmic timeline in the form of the Discover feed here. Right now, I don't think that if you're very like critical of if you're very highly demanding of an algorithmic timeline, in a way that you want it to be exactly like on Twitter, because Twitter is very good at this. And same with TikTok, of course. Like they will feed you what you like. If I browse Twitter, and I also browse mostly the algorithmic timeline on Twitter, like I will every other post at least I will like. I will know that I will like it.
I
When
think
it
I
comes to
think
Blue
it's
Sky, it's
very
definitely not
optimized in a way
there
that'll
yet.
keep me on the platform because it'll show me
Yeah.
content that I will look at. It'll show me content that I engage with. But the problem is it's that when I leave the platform, I'm not happy with the time that I spent on that platform. So like in
For
terms
me,
of
it's
like
actually
yeah.
different because
On Twitter?
I feel like on Twitter
How?
I've kind of curated my following list and like the things that I like. But it's also I'm not a content creator, of course, and content creator spaces are also involved in like probably a lot of drama and everything, and there's a lot of farming for engagement. And
You're
I
telling
don't
me
really see that
you're telling
because
me
I
that
have
you don't see content like a 3D model dude cutting a log and then the chainsaw hits a nail, which has the chainsaw go backwards and hit the dude's head, explaining
No.
how that can kill a person.
No, I don't have that. on my
I
feed.
saw
My
that
feed-
yesterday and I was like, what the fuck?
My feed is mostly tech stuff and art stuff, and then some viral posts like interspersed in there. But I feel like I've curated it pretty well. But a lot of people haven't, of course. A lot of people just like I don't know. A lot of people don't think about it that much, and they just get what the platform feeds them, I suppose. But
I guess like in your sense, because you're doing it actively, like you understand like a bit of how the algorithm works, and you're specifically engaging with posts because you want to see more like it, and you're
Yeah.
specifically ignoring posts or trying to scroll past those that you don't want to promote in the algorithm, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I
have
guess
that
for
in the
me,
back of
I'm
my
more of
head.
like a passive approach where I'm just like, oh shit, type shit. You know what I'm saying? I also am like really cautious. I know they like remove the feature where like if you like something, then it no longer shows to other people who follow you that you liked it. But like I never smash the like button. I'm so sorry. I tell other people to smash the like button. I never smash the like button. I
Twitter, you mean? Or
on Twitter, on YouTube, on literally everything, dude. I never smash the like button.
I mean that is the main input that Twitter has.
Fuck!
Knowing what you like and what you don't like.
Right.
So if you want to curate your algorithmic timeline, you should use it.
Fuck!
That is kind of how it works. And the
Okay.
same thing on Blue Sky. Blue Sky has the exact same inputs. It knows what you like, what you don't like. You can also and like on Blue Sky, if you press like I want to see less of this, it will actually take that into consideration. But there are a lot of things to tweak still. Like the Discover timeline or the Discover feed on Blue Sky is not great right now, I would say. But it's getting there.
But what matters is that the vision and the future
the
and
vision.
the
Yeah.
the vision is
God.
there, and that like do we as the users believe that it will eventually get there? You know what I'm saying? But-
Exactly. Yeah.
or-
And I definitely believe that.
Okay.
I've seen what they're doing. They really know what they're doing. It will just take some time, I would say.
Interesting. Okay. How complicated is it to create a feed? Like if I wanted to create the best Osu feed beyond just Osu Sky, like I'm assuming I'll just hit up the Osu Sky guy and be like, how did you do this? How can we make it better by implementing these ideas, etc., etc. And then they just do the thing.
There's a few different ways you could essentially okay. How can I explain this? Your feed is essentially kind of like a website. You can either self-host it and have Blue Sky feed you data, and then you output data, which is then used to create a feed in the front end, which is a little complex, but bear with me here. Or you can use something which is called a feed builder. Like people have created these websites where you can, with an official editor, you can decide, okay, these are the inputs that I want. I want to process the entire Blue Sky network. Here are the things that I want to filter on.
And Blue Sky will
add
literally
these to
give
a
you
feed.
access to the entire Blue Sky network for you to like filter and build this shit.
you have access to the entire network. Bluesky is completely, or like the ad protocol network is completely public. Everything you post is public. That's why there's no private accounts yet, for example, because doing that is very complex when the platform itself is made to be public first.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
If that makes sense.
Like,
Yeah.
if everything is public, then how can you have privacy? I
Yeah.
guess. But I guess it makes it
Exactly.
really. Yeah, continue.
DMs, for example, are end-to-end encrypted, I think, right now, but they are centralized. They are part of Bluesky, not part of the wider AdProto network. They are not decentralized like the rest of the network is. But that's very technical, which I might dive into like later if I prepare like a presentation or something maybe. But
Blue Sky
it's,
should pay you.
no.
If you
definitely
wanted
not.
to work at
No.
Blue Sky, would you be interested? I have
I
an
mean,
in.
yeah, I would. But at the same time, I'm not sure if I would be fit for that. Like, and I think they have no problems sourcing their developers through their open source work, essentially.
true.
But,
Damn.
but yeah, maybe later. At some point. It's what was I talking about again? I don't remember. Feeds. Oh yeah. If you wanted to create your own feed, you would have to think, okay, what are the inputs for my feed? What would I want to filter on? How would I want to sort these posts? Because it is very free form. Like, if every feed can just be a piece of code, filtering for certain posts and certain people. There are feed builders. Let me see if I can. Which is the most popular feed builder, for example? It's called Skyfeed. If you go to skyfeed.app.
Skyfeed.app.
I haven't used this myself yet, but I know a lot of people do. And it is essentially just a way to create a feed, but with a visual builder. So you don't have to write any code or anything. It is
What
just,
the fuck?
yeah. It is less customizable in a way because you are using the inputs that Skyfeed gives you, compared to if you were to create your own feed by writing your own feed service, essentially. But it is a lot more simpler, of course, because anyone can do this without technical knowledge.
Yeah, it's kind of like those code block developer app things, right?
Yeah,
Something like that.
Yeah. Now, how this actually works, I have no idea. Why?
But
Where's the
in
new feed
theory,
button?
using a website like this, you could, as like a a high level. This is high level, right? From like a high level perspective, a user could more easily generate their own custom algorithm to create a feed that they
Anyone
would
can
enjoy,
use.
and then they can have other people use as well.
Yep. Exactly. And I think this is very cool.
That's fucking
Because
incredible, man. That's
just
incredible.
the fact that this is possible at all is very cool. Because I think like where developers go, generally users go as well, because developers create experiences for
100%.
people. So that's why I like Bluesky so much, because it's very developer centric, and they really put developers first compared to Twitter, which has completely closed down its API unless you pay like thousands a month for access to it. And I feel like Twitter could have been something very cool. Like, everyone uses Twitter or used Twitter. It could have been this backbone of the internet where everything feeds into Twitter and takes outputs from Twitter. Like, you could have entire web apps built just on Twitter. And I feel like Bluesky is that vision, but actually realized.
Yeah, interesting.
If that makes any sense. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts. Maybe I should like write a blog post or something about this at some point.
Hey, if you do make that, we'll take a look at it, because
Sure.
All of this is so interesting. It's so fascinating, because for me, as the person who never really got too into like the development end, I took like AP Computer Science 1 and 2, and
Yeah.
intro to computer science and computer science principles and that sort of stuff. That's the farthest I ever got. But like, if I never went into like the content creation path, this would be the path that I would go down. And I'm still like highly interested in like how all of this works and all the tinkering that you can do. Like, yeah. So
It's very cool.
yeah, it's so dope.
I agree.
Anyways, all right, Vass, I don't want to hold on to you for too long, but this was all very fascinating. If you are able to put together like, you know, more of your thoughts on like how the technical stuff works and make it consumable for something that my brain can handle, that would be incredible. Would love to learn more.
Sure
but
thing. I
yeah,
probably will.
That's dope. Thank you, Vass. So
okay. If you have any questions about Bluesky or anything, you can always hit me up, of course. So
sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Vass.
Of course, anytime.
All right. See you then.
All right. See ya.
Guys. Oh, what's up? Cat to Zero? What's good? Wow. Did this chat turn into dev chat? Chat, I know the talent server kind of died, but that's okay. All right. We just need the right idea to mobilize. You know what I'm saying?